Welcome to the channel. Shocking photo of the world. The Boozers, England, 1900. In the very first film in 1913, Fantomas looked like this. Roller skaters in California, 1980. 6 sumo wrestlers, circa 1890. Julia Roberts, 1990. Urinal for one person. Paris, 1875. Climbing the Pyramid of Cheops. Egypt, 1870-1880s. In 1936, Isabella Gilbert invented a device to create dimples. Pablo Escobar at his son's 14th birthday party. 1991. Prisoners sweeping a street in Washington, USA, 1909. Before alarm clocks became widely available in the 1940s and 1950s, there were people who woke up workers by shooting dried peas from a pea shooter into their windows. Albert Einstein sunbathing in Palm Springs, Southern California, 1932. Angelina Jolie, 1996. Nuns on a smoke break, England, 1960s. Anna Nicole Smith, 90s. Sophia Loren on a balcony overlooking the Eiffel Tower, 1956. The unrivaled Gia Karangi became one of the first models in the world to dare to do erotic photo shoots. Photos from the 80s. Piano for the Soul, 1935. Oxford Pants, 1920s. The legendary cat of HMS Queen Elizabeth, 1915. London Vibe, 1954. Bicycle of the Future, 1946. Black Cat Cigarettes on Wheels, 1915. Milkman on Skis, 1962. Lipton, From Shop to Empire, 1936. Queen at the Vase, 1939. Beach Photographer, 1963. Freaky Bike, 1950s. Vietnamese Refugee with Children, Hugh, 1968. War-Torn City. Shanghai Merchant, 1938. Successful, confident, with a twinkle in his eye. Chinese Women at Height, 1980. Maintenance of high-voltage lines at Fushin Power Station. North Korea, Sinmak, 1950. A family of migrants hides between train cars. Praying in the Himalayas, Kashmir, 1948. Muslim women greet the dawn in Srinagar. Vietnamese welder, 1975. Welding metal onto a wheel pair is not a job for the faint of heart. Fujiyama, Japan, 1930. A Japanese man admires the sacred mountain. Seoul, Korea, 1959. Street bustle, the first shoots of modernization. The city comes alive after the war. An opal that seems to have dawn inside it. The battleship is in standby mode. This is not a rock in the photo. The far side of the moon, a rare NASA image. New York at night is like a circuit board. Traces of a monk who prayed in the same place for 20 years. This giant aquarium is part of an elevator shaft and is home to over 1,500 fish. One of the varieties of zebroids is a cross between a zebra and a pony. This is not a diorama. This is a real island filled with people fleeing the Malaysian floods. Colliding bullets from the Battle of Gallipoli, 1915-16. Saturn's North Pole during a storm. Stars visible from Earth compared to the entire Milky Way galaxy. Game of Thrones actors doubles. 1942 Harley-Davidson Flathead U74. Rickshaw carrying Colonial Elite, 1911. Woman at the furnace at the Vulcan factory, Dimitrovgrad, Bulgaria, 1964. Couple on a hotel terrace near Mount Osegovo, Bulgaria, 1965. Traditional Yoruba house, Nigeria, 1904. Dancer in an aquarium, Beirut, 1966. Village Petrushna Vas, Yugoslavia, 1950. Assembly line of the Ivo Lola Rebar plant, Yugoslavia, 1960s. Soccer in the desert, Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, 1945. Horse-drawn carriage and Chevrolet, Erzurum, Turkey, 1973. Steamship Hertog Hendrik in Suriname, 1928. May Day Parade, Tel Aviv, 1949. Lady on the Beach, Melbourne, Australia, 1910. Railway Building, Buenos Aires, 1936. Plaza de Armas, Cusco, Peru, 1934. Young lady from the Hopi tribe. Such hairstyles were worn by unmarried girls. 77-year-old Sally Lippman, nicknamed Disco Sally, rocks out at the iconic Studio 54 Club, 1978. An acrobat in Chicago, 1940s. The first official bikini. Emperor Nicholas II and his wife Alexandra Fyodorovna in the costumes of a medieval czar and princess. 1903. A patient is held in a mental hospital in France in 1900. Padang women from Burma display their outstretched necks while on holiday in London, 1935. 1936 trade meeting. We have a lot of questions about this 1936 photo from the Select Baking Company trade meeting. Photograph of Venice, Italy, circa 1900. Friedrich Nietzsche in a mental hospital, 1899. Friedrich Nietzsche in a mental hospital, 1899. Korean aristocrat and his porters, Seoul, 1900. A girl sorting pearls. Japan, 1949. Experimental camouflage for American soldiers during World War I, 1917. School bus on the streets of Taiwan, 1950s. Spanish heavyweight boxer Paulino Uzquitan, nicknamed the Basque Lumberjack, photographed in the early 1920s. Stevie Wonder at the London School for the Blind, 1970. April 1975. London. Hillary Clinton plays Game Boy on board an airplane. Emperor Menelik II of Ethiopia, 1896. Tom Hardy as a young Jean-Luc Picard, 2002. Steve Jobs demonstrates the NX Station personal computer, San Francisco, 1990. Window washers in New York City, 1958. Anatoly Karpov plays an exhibition chess game, 1978. Habitat 67, a modular housing complex at the Expo 67 World's Fair in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, 1967. Still in use today as a housing complex. Linda Evangelista, Cindy Crawford and Claudia Schiffer, 1991. Stanley Kubrick and Malcolm McDowell on the set of A Clockwork Orange, 1971. Parisians walk on chairs to keep their feet dry during a flood, 1924. Trying on masks for the maniac from The Silence of the Lambs, 1991. Coal and gas-powered taxi, England. Enough fuel was stored on the roof of the car for a range of 24 kilometers, 1920. Massive anchor chain of the Titanic, 1909. A bouncer at the Shanghai Reds, California, escorts a customer to the door, 1953. Carla Bruni, the future wife of French President Nicolas Sarkozy, poses at the Place Chad Vostania metro station in St. Petersburg, 1992. Children wearing traditional Mino cloaks attend a New Year's event, Niigata Prefecture, Japan, 1956. Donald and Ivanka Trump at a tennis tournament in New York. A farmer's wife and daughter on their way to church, West Germany, late 19th century. Girls dressed for prom at an American high school in 1920. Girls in bathing suits, England, 1919. Public demonstration of the Koenig water shower fire helmet in Hamburg, Germany, 1900.
go head-to-head on Hammersmith Broadway in London, 1953. Both participants in this street performance were acrobats from the famous British circus of Bertram Mills. Such a mirror walk would amaze passers-by even today. Police stop an ostrich-drawn carriage for speeding. Los Angeles, circa 1930. If you think this carriage was driven by some crazy guy, ostrich-drawn situations weren't all that unique. Church cleaning day, Leipzig, Germany, circa 1920, literally washing away sins. It looks pretty wild actually. No wonder some statues and icons are streaming myrrh. The shoemaker's naked shoes, Houston, Texas, March 1966. A man felt the full force of irony when his car, loaded with worn tires, suffered a flat tire. The original Michelin Man, from 1898. This is what the original mascot of one of the most famous tire manufacturers, Michelin, once looked like. By the way, his name is Bibindum, one of Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi's bodyguards. Libya, 1983, the time of his death in 2011. He was 69. It is unlikely that this bodyguard was still performing the same duties. Trimming with garden shears, UK, 1920. The man in the photo, probably the father, was probably just fooling around. But the little boy took it seriously. People show off tattoos he got during an amateur tattoo competition in France in 1950. A horse wearing a gas mask, UK. The 27th of March 1940. Gas masks for animals have been used since World War I. Horses, mules, dogs and pigeons were vulnerable to poisonous gases, so they needed special protection. Robert Earl Hughes, 1926 to 1958, was an American who weighed 486 kilograms and was the heaviest man in the world during his lifetime. He still remains the heaviest man in the world who can walk without assistance. A smoke break during a tennis match, 1930. To smoking culture was pretty widespread in those days. Athletes would take a smoke break, and no one saw anything wrong with it. Margaret Gibb kissed by her fiancé, while her conjoined sister Mary looks on. California, 1940s. In 1929, Margaret Gibb, one of the conjoined twins, became engaged to Carlos Daniel Joseph, a gentleman from Mexico City, whom she met while performing in New Orleans. Maud Vogler was an American circus performer who became the first known female tattoo artist in the United States. 1907. Maud Vogler was born in 1877. She performed in circuses as an aerialist before meeting her future husband Gus, who taught her how to tattoo. Halloween in the 1930s, more like a gang of supervillains. The kids are probably wearing homemade paper MCH masks. Obviously, the masks were made to look disturbing on purpose. Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen. Photographed by Stephen Burton in 1978, their sad love story is well known. Sid reportedly wanted to be buried next to Nancy, and when Nancy's mother refused, Sid's mother had him cremated and scattered his ashes over Nancy's grave. Dutch cyclist Piet van Kempen rides on the Wembley circuit during the London 6 Days cycling trials. September 25, 1936. Radio hat from 1931. It allowed radio waves to be captured, converted into sound and transmitted through a tube that can be seen in the front of the hat. A champagne inspector wearing a special mask to protect against a sudden bottle explosion. California, 1933. Quality control at a vinyl record pressing plant in London. 1965. A pig being treated with a sun lamp to cure a skin condition in Ilford. 1938. Seeing to Mickey Mouses on a Parisian street in the early 1930s was either a source of pure delight or sheer horror. The 200-kilogram Iron Man diving suit, which allowed free movement of all possible joints. New York, 1907. One of the first homeless shelters set up for people in central London. For 4 pennies, a homeless person was allowed to lie on their back and sleep in a special wooden box, like a coffin. 1900s. British hurdler Percy Horge demonstrates a perfect hurdle jump while carrying a bottle and glass on a tray. Percy Horge became the Olympic champion in the 3,000 meters hurdles in 1920. Leicester City goalkeeper Gordon Banks catches a dog that ran onto the pitch during the English Premier League match against Manchester United. England, 1965. A group relaxes in the winter sun on a beautiful day at Sun Valley Ski Resort. Idaho, 1947. A mushroom picker with his specially trained pig, which sniffs out truffle mushrooms growing underground. Dordogne, France, 1984. Photo by Bruno Barbie. Actress Judy Garland, one of Hollywood's most iconic actresses from the 1940s to 1960s, tries to comfort her crying daughter, Liza Minnelli, in 1947. Liza Minnelli, born 1946, followed in her mother's footsteps, becoming a famous actress, singer, and dancer. A hot potato vendor on the streets of Manhattan, 1892. These potatoes were called Mickeys and were not only eaten as a snack, but also used as hand warmers on cold winter days. Chrysler offered $2,000 to any Chicago auto show attendee who could make model and actress Nancy Del Corral laugh. 1976. A photo from the crash site of Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571 in the Andes, 1972. There were 45 people on board. 33 survived the crash. The last photo of Congressman Leo Ryan on November 18, 1978. He was killed in Guyana by members of the People's Temple cult who opened fire on the runway as he attempted to fly to the United States. Qusay Hussein, Saddam Hussein's youngest son, fires a revolver into the air during a social event, 1980s. In 1975, the Denver Nuggets basketball team hired a witch to ruin their opponent's game. This happened after the Indiana Pacers used their talisman to cast a hex on the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets ended up losing both games. The witch didn't help them. Demonstration of an underground economy class bomb shelter that could accommodate 8 to 12 people. USA, 1958. It was claimed that this bomb shelter could withstand the fall of a 20 megaton bomb equivalent to TNT. A watch from Driver Genève, Switzerland, with a TV, radio and calculator, 1976. The battery had to be carried in the pocket. Annie Edson Taylor was a 63-year-old teacher and the first person to survive going over Niagara Falls in a barrel in 1901. Ernest Hemingway with his cats. He was very attached to them. In 1957, 57 animals lived in a special room at his villa, 43 adult cats and 14 kittens. Gwyneth Paltrow, Jude Law, and Matt Damon met on the set of The Talented Mr. Ripley, 1999. Director, screenwriter and producer Stanley Kubrick screen tests for the dystopian film A Clockwork Orange, 1971. The real First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt at Lake Chazy, New York, with the Smith & Wesson .22 pistol she carried when she refused Secret Service protection, 1934. Dutch cyclist Piet van Kempen rides on the Wembley track during the London 6 Days cycling race, September 25, 1936. Luxury sedans of the 90s, BMW 7 Series, Cadillac Fleetwood Broom, Infiniti Q45, Jaguar XJ12, Lexus EOS 400, Lincoln Continental, and Mercedes-Benz S-Class. Circus family, mom and kids. The family started tattooing their children when they were 1 year old. 1965, photographer Todd Walker. David Lee Roth with Madonna at his birthday party. 1984. The Hand of God is one of the most famous unfair goals in football history, scored by Argentina's Diego Maradona in the 51st minute of the 1986 FIFA World Cup quarter-final against England. 3 former Papal employees, S. Chen, C. Hurley and D. Kareem, founded YouTube in 2005. Future 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump kisses his bride Marla Maples during their wedding ceremony. New York, USA, 1992. 2 legendary jokers before they played their iconic role. Heath Ledger won an Oscar in 2009 and Joaquin Phoenix won in 2020. Russian immigrants of German descent, Ellis Island, 1905. Jacob Mithelstadt with his family, wife, 7 sons and 1 daughter. Judging by the photo, they are not poor immigrants, all in leather shoes, even the little ones in boots and shoes. Street scene in Mexico, Mexico City, 1983. Most likely, Mexicans are preparing to watch the World Youth Football Championship, which was held in Mexico, 1983. A diver takes a break from filming 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Los Angeles, 1953. A special water tank was built for this film in one of the Disney Studio pavilions. It was 18 by 38 meters in size and up to 3.5 meters deep. The gym on board the Titanic, 1912. First-class passengers had access to a gym and a gymnastics room on board. Newlyweds, 1965. The photo was taken during the Civil War in the Dominican Republic in April 1965. Santo Domingo. Snow leopard hunting, Kyrgyz SSR, 1973. During the Soviet era, hunting of snow leopards was permitted in Kyrgyzia. Their fur was highly valued, and live specimens were sent to zoos around the world. Berliners received free potatoes from the Soviet Military Administration. Germany, May 1945. Trams stuck in the snow. Komsomolska no more, 1960s. Innovative motherhood. A mother uses a trash can to restrain her baby while she crochets in a park. USA, 1969. Girls eat spaghetti on inflatable mattresses near the island of Capri, Italy. June 1939. Cathedral fortified with sandbags, France, 1918. Sandbags were used to protect against bombs during World War I. Amiens Cathedral. Furry conqueror of space. Chimpanzee Ham is preparing for a test flight under the Mercury program, subprogram Mercury Redstone 2. Dogs were sent to the USSR and monkeys to the USA. A warrior from the Fiji Islands, 1880s. Almost 150 years have passed, several generations have changed, and we are still looking at him. That's why I like old photos. This is eternal life, frozen in a frame. People in Hanoi immediately after the warning of an air attack in 1967. A woman drinks chicha. Cusco, Peru, 1931. This local drink is made from corn and tastes like kvass or beer. Laying the foundation of the main building of Moscow State University. Moscow, 1948. The foundation of the main building is located at a depth of 1,314 meters, and the volume of the concrete box is 43,000 cubic meters. Medical spacesuits designed to ease childbirth and improve the IQ of babies. 1965. Jonathan the Turtle Ace D. Helena in the 1900s, and today, 191 years old. This is the oldest turtle in history. The director of the Belgrade Zoo persuades the chimpanzee Sammy to return home after escaping. 1988. Morning swimmers in Las Vegas watch the mushroom cloud from an atomic test conducted 120 kilometers away. 1953. Colorized photograph of Princeton University students after a snowball fight. 1893. A photograph of a young Bedouin woman from Kuwait holding her lamb during the Gulf War. 1991. A Japanese-American family after being released from a Japanese concentration camp in Los Angeles. Charles Ebbets, the man who took the famous photograph titled Lunch on Top of a Skyscraper. 1932. The Lion Man. Stefan Bobrovsky was born in 1891 and suffered from hypertrichosis, excessive hair growth. He was spotted by a freak show owner in Europe and bought from his parents at the age of 4. Since then, he has traveled the world, performing in various shows and earning good money. Stefan was a very intelligent and educated man. He spoke 5 languages. According to rumors, he adored his external feature, stating that he owed everything he had seen and achieved in life to it. The collapse side of the Empire State Building was hit by a B-25 Mitchell bomber. USA. July 28, 1945, 1910, USA. A sailor takes a picture with his cats, who always go sailing with him. 23-year-old Italian circus performer, Maria Spalterina walked a tightrope over Niagara Falls in 11 minutes, then walked back down in 10 minutes, walking backwards. 1876. The absolute Guinness record for childbearing belongs to a Russian peasant woman who lived 100 years ago. Foda Vasiliev's wife gave birth to 69 children in 27 births. 16 times she gave birth to twins, 7 times to triplets, and 4 times to quadruple children. 1917, USA. Brewster armor protection for snipers during World War I. Health and Safety Superintendent Clifford Roberts serves as a model during a fire training course for hospital staff. Richmond, 1965. A rare photo of North Korean leader Kim Il-sung with a tumor on his neck. Photographers were forbidden to photograph the right side of his face. Late 1980s. Men didn't pay attention to me when I was thin. Advertisement for a fat-gaining product. USA, 1950s. A pearl diver on the Mississippi prepares for another entry to the bottom. 1938. He uses an old fuel tank from a car as a helmet. In such a device, he could dive to a depth of 21 meters. A wave during a storm covers a lighthouse off the coast of France. 1980s. Testing the strength of the wooden body of the DKWF-8. At least 28 people are standing on the moving car. Germany, 1939. The FA Cup final between Cardiff City and Arsenal. The 23rd of April 1927. Police at Wembley literally climb over the heads of fans to get to their posts. The stranded ship of the British Antarctic expedition led by Ernest Shackleton, HMS Endurance, 1915. To loggers under large tree, Pacific Northwest, 1915. An unusual place for prams at the front of a bus. New Zealand, 1950. 17-year-old Manny Pacquiao trains to become a future boxing legend. 1995. 1930s burlesque performer Sherry Britton was said to have a figure to die for. Sybil Shepherd, American actress and model. In 1968, she was awarded the title of Model of the Year. A lady walks around London renting out books as a walking library. London, England, 1934. A businessman and secretary work in a swimming pool during a heat wave in Berlin, Germany. 1926. 1950s bullet bra invented in the 1940s. They were fashionable in the 1940s, 1950s, and early 1960s before softer, more natural-looking bras came back into fashion. Jane Mansfield attends a football match. White Hart Lane, Tottenham Hotspur, 1959. Men line up at the Labour Exchange, hoping to get some work during the Great Depression, 1930. In 1859, 24 rabbits were released into the wild in Australia. Within 6 years, their number had grown to 6 million individuals. Before the invention of pin spotters, pins were set manually by children pin boys. UK, 1914. Korean refugees flee North Korea across a bridge damaged by an airstrike. 1950. Auction and Negro sales, a shop where slaves were once sold. Atlanta, 1864. World-class strength athletes are stunned by the strength of an ordinary Chinese farmer. 1968. Virtual reality glasses date back to 1968. The device was invented by Hugo Gernsback and worked on the same principle as modern VR glasses. The face of a hockey goalie before the mask became standard issue. 1966. During the flood, Parisians moved around the city using chairs. 1924. New York subway passengers sit without newspapers during the city's newspaper strike. 1953. Police escort 28-year-old Valeria Solanas to the 13th precinct after she shot Andy Warhol June 3, 1968. In New York City, Thomas Woodhouse, born 1730, was a circus performer famous for having the world's longest nose, reportedly measuring 20 centimeters 8 in long. The photo was taken in 1957 in the Netherlands. where open-air schools were quite popular at the time. The idea of learning outdoors should be very obvious, weather permitting, of course. But most traditional schools these days don't pay much attention to the benefits of learning outside four walls.